After her husband was murdered, she burned everything and accidentally grew a plant that punishes evil. After her husband was murdered, she burned everything and accidentally grew a plant that punishes evil. On the day of the man's burial, the woman threw 3 hoes into the fire, poured rapeseed oil on them, and the fire blazed 3 feet high. The village chief knelt before him, kowtowing, "Sister-in-law, those are the best hoes in our village. Keep one." The woman pulled a red-hot iron bar from the fire and placed it across the doorway. Sparks flew onto the village chief's trousers. Anyone who tried to stop her would die. 5-year-old tied-in huddled in a corner, too frightened to utter a sound. On the 4th day, a plague broke out in the county town. Soldiers blocked the roads, and grain prices tripled in a single day. Even with money, it was impossible to buy grain. Every household was demolishing houses to exchange grain for rice, and a chair was exchanged for half a pound of bran. Tied-in was so hungry that he ate his own cotton-padded trousers. His mouth was stuffed with cotton, which he spat out. The woman held her son, refusing to look at the fire. The village elder, Malu, arrived with 4 men. He kicked down the courtyard gate and saw the pile of charred hoes. His face contorted with rage. "You spendthrift woman, you've mixed iron into those hoes. Each one is worth 10 taels of silver. Burning them is like burning the lives of the whole village." The woman stood in front of the fire, the iron bar across her chest. Malu was forced back 2 steps by the heat from the bar, and he threatened, "3 days from now, I'll make sure you and your mother die by the well." That night, the woman wept by the fire. From the pile of ashes, a small mound emerged, and 3 green seedlings sprouted, growing rapidly and covering the entire house overnight. Golden flowers bloomed on the vines, and strings of bright red beans grew, their fragrance wafting for 3 alleys. Dan crawled over, picked one, and popped it into his mouth. After chewing a couple of times, his eyes lit up. "Mother, it's sweet," he thought. "Just 1 handful is enough to fill me up, and my little belly swells up." The news spread, and Ma Lu was the first to bring men to steal them. He reached out to pick the beans, but the moment his fingers touched them, he screamed in agony. His entire hand instantly turned red and burned, as if branded with a hot iron. He rolled on the ground in pain. The villagers, skeptical of the superstition, would sneak over the wall at night to steal the beans. Some were pricked by the bean vines and covered in blood, and others got blisters in their mouths as soon as they put the beans in. No one dared to approach that house again. That night, the woman had a dream. A dark-faced man knelt before her, kowtowing 3 times. "Sister-in-law," he said, "I've come to repay a debt. 5 years ago, your husband saved me on the mountain. He gave me his last piece of dry rations and 8 grass roots for 3 days. He gave me my life." The woman asked, "How did my husband die?" The man's eyes reddened. "He didn't fall to his death," he said. "Ma Lu coveted the wasteland he had cleared. There was iron or underground, worth several thousand taels of silver. Ma Lu tried to buy it from him, but he refused. So, while he was gathering herbs on the mountain, Ma Lu shoved him from behind." The woman trembled. The man continued, I told you to burn your hoe to draw out this blood bean plant. This thing is food for kind-hearted people, but poison for bad people. At daybreak, she took the beans into town to find Dr. Wu at Tang. She insisted on selling them only to him, noting that Dr. Wu had a mole on his left cheek, so as not to mistake him for someone else. The next day, as the woman carried the beans into town, 3 vagrants tried to rob her. She scattered the beans on the ground, and the 3 vagrants, reaching for them, cried out in pain as soon as their fingers touched them, their hands covered in blisters. The woman retrieved the beans and left without looking back. When she found Tang, Dr. Wu's hands trembled upon seeing the beans. These are blood beans, he said. They can cure hemorrhage, tuberculosis, and snake venom. My master has searched his whole life and never seen anything like them. He took out 80 taels of silver. Sister-in-law, he said, you sold them at a loss, but these beans can save 3 lives. Remember, I owe you a favor. The woman had just left the pharmacy when she was stopped by Sun Dihao, the village landlord. His daughter had been bleeding for 3 months and was on the verge of death. He tried to forcibly take the blood beans. In the struggle, the beans rolled to the ground. Sun Dihao bent down to pick them up, but the moment his fingers touched them, he screamed in agony. His palm felt like it had been branded with a hot iron. Suddenly, an old servant knelt. Master, he said, Miss isn't sick. The eldest young mistress, in her fight for the family fortune, has been putting blood-activating medicine in her soup every day. These beans only recognize kind-hearted people. You are too cruel. You can't even touch them. Sun Dihao's face turned ashen, his legs went weak, and he knelt on the ground. The woman picked up the beans and turned to leave. 3 days later, Ma Lu went up the mountain to chop firewood at night, lost his footing, and fell to the same spot where the woman and her husband had fallen years before, dying in the same way. The village elders said that it was the vengeful spirit waiting to pry into their lives at the bottom of the cliff. Sun Dihao returned home and uncovered the truth. His eldest daughter-in-law had been arrested and taken to the yamen, but his daughter had lost too much blood, and due to his habitual actions that led to deaths, she couldn't be saved. His nephews fought over all the family property, leaving him unable to even afford a coffin. His wife took Taidan and moved to the county town. They used the 80 taels of silver to open a small noodle shop. Taidan was precocious. At 6 years old, he helped his mother wash dishes and sweep the floor. As Taidan grew up, he would go up the mountain every year to pay respects at his father's grave. He would bring a bowl of hand-pulled noodles and a pot of yellow wine, kneel before the grave, kowtow 3 times, and talk to his father for a long time. He often told people, "My father gave someone a bite to eat back then." Heaven remembered this for half a lifetime. Later, Taidan got married and had 2 big, healthy sons. On his wife's 60th birthday, Taidan knelt and offered her a bowl of noodles, saying, "Mother, if it weren't for you gritting your teeth and carrying the burden back then, we would have starved to death long ago." His wife patted his head and smiled. "It wasn't me who carried the burden. It was your Father who carried us from below. People are watching what you do. If you help others, heaven will help you 10 times over. It's not that heaven won't help, it's just that the time hasn't come yet.